10 stars who fell in love with criminals. 1. Whitney Houston. Everyone advised Houston against dating Bobby Brown. Her mother didn't want them to get married. Houston returned from a honeymoon with a scar on her face. Brown had multiple domestic violence charges. He was arrested for drunk driving and possession. Houston shared his addiction. She filed for divorce after only 14 years of marriage. A few years later, Houston passed away from intoxication. 2. Jada Pinkett-Smith. Jada married Will Smith in 1997. They have a son and daughter together, but back in 1989, Smith was arrested for assault. He was charged with criminal conspiracy. Smith was involved in an altercation. A man was left nearly blind. The charges were later dismissed. Jada and Will are still married. 3. Melinda French Gates. Melinda was married to Bill Gates for 27 years. Before their marriage, he had been arrested twice. In 1975, he was arrested for speeding. Gates had no driving license. 2 years later, he was arrested again for not having a license. 4. Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra got married in Vegas, but later they had their marriage annulled. Rodman filed domestic violence charges against Electra. He had a restraining order against her. Electra filed a restraining order against Rodman as well. Their marriage lasted less than a year. 5. Matthew Rutler. Matthew Rutler was Christina Aguilera's fiancé. One night, the couple was pulled over by cops. Aguilera switched seats with Rutler. He took the DUI charges. His blood alcohol level was low, and he was dismissed. Aguilera was then taken into custody for public intoxication, but no charges were filed. 6. Sandra Bullock. Bullock was married to bike builder Jesse James. His company was fined for violating clean air laws. A past client sued James, alleging incomplete work. But what ended the relationship was James cheating. 7. Marilyn Monroe. In 1962, Monroe spent time at Frank Sinatra's lodge. One of the guests was mob boss Sam Giancana. There were rumors that they had an affair, but they've never been confirmed, of course. 8. Sarah Jessica Parker. Parker is married to Matthew Broderick. In the 1980s, Broderick was involved in a car accident. It resulted in the death of 2 people in another car. Broderick was charged with death by dangerous driving. The charge was later reduced to careless driving. He was only fined $175. The family of the victims found it grossly unfair. 9. Nastasia Kinski. At 15, Kinski had an affair with Roman Polanski. He was 43 at the time. A year later, Polanski was arrested. He pleaded guilty for having a relationship with a 13-year-old. 10. Anne Hathaway. Hathaway dated Raffaello Fulgeri. He attracted investors to buy church properties. Fulgeri spent the money on himself. He paid $37,000 a month for an apartment in Olympic Tower. He rented a yacht for himself and Hathaway. In 2008, he was arrested for money laundering and fraud. Fulgeri pleaded guilty to 14 counts. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Hathaway says she didn't know about his scheme